Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of The Hard Truth. Today, I want to talk about the fact that Brian Kohberger missed his June 2nd alibi deadline, and I also want to address his request for no cameras in the courtroom. Both of these tell us a lot about Brian Kohberger's mindset right now. Okay, so we have to make a stop here. Now, thank you so much for watching. I appreciate everyone's views and likes, subscriptions, donations, all of it. Thank you. Great big thank you to everybody. All right, grab that coffee or sweet tea as we begin our story.
The question for today is, what does alleged quadruple homicide defendant Brian Kohberger not have? And the answer is an alibi. On May 23rd, the prosecution served a request for discovery and alibi demand. Under Idaho law, Kohberger then had 10 days from the date of the demand to give notice that he intended to rely on a defense of an alibi. And the deadline to give notice of the alibi defense is Friday, June 2nd, 2023. And as of the deadline, Kohberger has not given that notice. If Kohberger were to raise the defensive alibi, he would have to tell the prosecution where he claims to have been at the time the homicides were committed. He would also have to provide a list of witnesses and their addresses who could establish that alibi. Since he is not raising a defensive alibi, this means that Kohberger does not have a witness that can come to court and testify under oath that he was somewhere other than where the crimes were committed at the time the homicides occurred.
Well, does Brian Kohberger really need an alibi? I would say no and no. First of all, the burden of proof is on the state. The burden of proof that Brian killed an Idaho 4 is on the state. And just not knowing where he was is not going to get it. Okay? They need to place Brian Kohberger in that house at some point, okay, within the 24-hour range or radius around the time of those murders. They need to place Brian Kohberger not in Moscow, not on King Road. They need to place him in that house. And so far, that has not happened. Okay? And that's a problem for anybody. I don't care whether the jury is biased or not. They're going to want to see proof that Brian Kohberger has been in that house. Okay? I know I would, but the second no is because if the timeline of the murders ends up being outside the range in the PCA, then no, he won't need an alibi. And even further, the phone ping evidence in the PCA will actually become his alibi. Okay, so if the defense can prove a different time range for the murders from that 4 to 420 that's in the PCA, then those phone pings are actually going to become the alibi for Brian Kohberger. And I'm just wondering, do they realize that? Okay, let's move on to point 2.
Well, this is First at 4. Brian Kohberger, the man charged with killing 4 University of Idaho students last year, doesn't want cameras in the courtroom. According to court filings, it's because of social media posts made about him that overanalyze his body language. Kohberger's trial is set for October 2nd.
Okay, Brian Kohberger doesn't want cameras in the courtroom because we have been overanalyzing his body language. Now, does that sound like somebody that's on the verge of a plea deal? I mean, let's just be honest. Okay, this guy is riding this thing out. Okay, he did 6 months, and now he's preparing for trial, and he's taking thought to his court case. He's not sitting there crying for his mama while paper is being shuffled over his head. He's involved. And so we have to take notice of that, because a lot of sloppy stuff that I've been reading and experiencing investigating this case came from the prosecution side. And over here, I'm getting silence, privacy, secrecy, strategy. That's what I'm getting from this side over here. All right. So you let me know what you think about it, because a narcissist would want cameras in the courtroom. If this was just for attention or to be able to become a spectacle for just a minute, 9 times out of 10, the person would want cameras in the courtroom. All right. Because it's all about me and how do I look with a narcissist. So this was kind of surprising that, he wants to block all that out. So, we need to think about this a little bit. You let me know what you think in the comments. Let's have a conversation about it.